I'm logging in actually to YouTube as we speak.
Excellent.
Takes longer to do from home.
Oh, that's right. You get to do this from home now.
Yeah, now that my laptop works. Although sometimes I do it from the office. Sometimes I do it from home, from the office just because it's easier. Okay, we are live on YouTube now. But we have 5 minutes before meeting time.
Eric, did you get my oath paper? Did they give it to you? Okay,
You are now sealed.
okay.
I was waiting for you to be on the video to do that.
We need Chris, Mike, and Amanda. Amanda accepted. Chris and Michael, I don't have a note here, but I might have in my office.
Michael has a different email address by now, I should say.
Which one is he using now, Jen?
The one for Metis.
Oh, see, it didn't go to that one. It went to that Bruder Architect at Hotmail. I'll tomorrow for next week's meeting, add that other email as an invite and invite him again to that one using that email.
Can you tell me who the officers are right now? I couldn't find a list, like.
Amanda is chair. Who's our vice chair? I don't even know.
I think it's Chris.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It's Chris. Chris is vice chair.
Okay. And there's just two positions?
The secretary position.
Oh, okay.
Who's in that capacity? Do you know, Jen?
I don't remember.
Me either. We've been very fortunate in that our chair, Amanda, is always present.
Hey.
We never have to go to vice chair or secretary.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Let's see. Secretary was Christopher.
Oh,
So
that he
who's
was
vice chair?
Vice was Peter.
Oh,
was
Peter.
Peter.
That's right. That's right. And Nick, you replaced Peter. You were his appointment.
No preamble tonight, correct? Because it's a work
Correct.
session.
Correct.
It's not a work section, it's a public hearing.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, that's right. A
Thank
public
you.
hearing.
Yes, Jennifer is absolutely right.
preamble.
Yes.
Okay.
Do we read the preamble since it's a meeting, even though we don't have a case, but it's a meeting for an amendment, Eric?
Given
We
the
can do
fact-
it. It doesn't matter.
I think
be
we should
safe.
do it because that's what we do. But
Okay.
the fact that the preamble is not even legally significant makes me wonder every time we do it. But I don't want to break with that much tradition all in one meeting.
We will do it then. Okay, we have Chris. The only one that's not here is Michael. It's a minute till though, so.
Jennifer, the Village of Sugarbush Knolls wants to know if you've decided what you want to do as your post-retirement job.
Nothing. No work?
See, they want to lure you out of
want her to do?
retirement and doing work.
Does she want to be want her to be the part-time zoning inspector?
They want to focus on her engineering skills.
Oh, there you go.
I'll take her silence as a yes.
What kind of engineering skills do they need?
I'll talk about that later in the week. Said it's, but they have a stormwater issue and they're trying to determine what their liability is, and they don't trust the engineer that they've recently contracted with.
Who's that?
Somebody they consulted to hire without talking to me. It'll pop in my head later on, and I'll tell you. I'm not afraid of bad mouthing them. I just can't remember what it is right now. It's not one of the ones the city uses.
Should we wait for Michael or just start since we have a quorum?
I just shot him a text real quick and asked him if he was
Okay.
coming.
Jen just told me that he's using that Metis email, his newer one, and I sent this to his Bruder Architect Hotmail account. So I'll make sure that for next week's meeting, I update it and send him an invite using that one as well.
Okay, I'll tell him it's at his old.
Yeah, it's at his Hotmail account. Tell him Bruder Architect at Hotmail.
So once we send this to city council, are we done with it?
For reviewing it, yes. There's going to be a special committee session with council to discuss it on March 17th, because we have to have public hearings and a 30-day period between both reviews. I'm anticipating potentially another committee session to discuss it. And then obviously, if they make any recommendations that are different, we would let you know for sure. I'm reading this again after we get it fully formatted. There's some text that Eric gave us that need to be incorporated. It's not much. And
Bridget,
two-
Mike wants to know if you can resend it. He can't find it.
Sure.
Sorry.
Sure. That's all right. I will send it. But anyway, it probably will be April before it's fully authorized by council. I mean, they could do it all at one meeting in March, but I think it's too big to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Does he want me to send it to which email? His Hotmail one?
Mm,
I would send it to both just to be safe.
yeah.
I don't know his new Metis one though. I could send it to his Kent State one too.
Oh,
It's
he's-
mbruder@metisconstruction.com.
Say that again, Jen? Okay.
mbruder@metisconstruction.com.
Yeah, and Bruder@metisconstruction.com is what he wants.
Just sent it. Although I think that what I forwarded didn't actually have the link in it, so tell him I'll resend it. Here, let me try to do it from here. Hang on, I'm going to minimize all this.
I sent him
I'm
a,
gonna, yeah, I think the last one was like goofy. Hang on, I'm gonna get it off my calendar. I tried to do it through my phone, but it didn't work. So let me do this.
Everybody get their packet today?
yep,
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna send it now. Hold on. My computer's going really slow from here. I'm gonna send it to his Bruder. Oh, he just joined, but I'm resending it now.
I sent him a screenshot of like the meeting code.
Okay, and I just invited it. It went through as an external guest, so he should get it now.
He's there.
Okay.
I actually put in the number from the text that Amanda sent me.
Okay, I just sent it. I had to go into my email to get it to go. It wasn't going to let me. There we go. All right, now we have everybody. Michael, I'll send you next week's meeting to the Metis one because I think I used that Hotmail account for the next week's too. So I'll change that tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Then calling to order the February 9th, 2021 special business meeting at 7:05 PM. Roll call, please.
Mr. Clapper,
Present.
Mr. Bellis,
Present.
Ms. Edwards,
Present.
Mr. Clevenger Morris,
Present.
Mr. Bruder,
Present.
everybody's here.
Mr. Fink, would you like to conduct the election of officers?
Absolutely. So, as part of the being on the planning commission, we have certain officers. The beginning of, we start with electing a chair. Chair's responsibilities are no greater than any other members. However, the chair is responsible for making sure that the meeting is conducted in orderly fashion in conjunction with Robert's Rules of Orders for small groups. With that in mind, is anyone have any nominations for the role of chair for planning commission?
I'd like to nominate Chris.
Is there a second to that nomination?
Second it. I'll second it.
All right. Chris, do you accept the nomination?
I do.
Are there any other nominations?
I nominate Amanda.
Is there a second to that nomination?
Second that one also.
All right. Amanda, do you accept the nomination?
Oh, no. I do, however, I would be more than happy to step aside if Chair would, Chris would like to take chair.
So does that mean you are refusing the nomination? Or do you, Chris, do you have a comment to make first, or how do you guys want to handle this?
I guess we've never been in this situation.
All right. So what we're doing is, for now, both nominations are on the floor. So we'll go to the discussion phase of it. First of all, Chris, anything you wish to say before a vote is held?
I guess the only thing I would say is that I am a certified parliamentarian, and I'm certified to deal with Robert's rules, so that's why I would be interested. I've been here a few years and would enjoy the opportunity, but Amanda's also been here a while, so I appreciate that.
Amanda, do you wish to say anything before going to a vote?
No, I'd be happy to continue if that's what the commission wants. Yeah, that's all.
And recognizing the fact that I should have done this first, so I'll do it now. Are there any other nominations for the role of chair for this commission? Hearing none, and given the fact we've already had a discussion on this matter, what we'll do is, since Mr. Clevenger Morris is nominated first, please raise your either hand if you wish to vote for Mr. Clevenger Morris. I see 3 votes. Are there any votes for Ms. Edwards? I see 1 vote. Any abstentions? Motion carries with Mr. Clevenger Morris being voted chair of the planning commission. Next role is that of the vice chair. Vice chair's responsibilities are no greater than the other member. However, the vice chair will serve in the role of chair if the chair is for some reason unable to do so. Are there any nominations for the position of vice chair?
I can nominate Amanda.
Is there a second?
I didn't hear the first part.
Is there a second? Amanda's been nominated as vice chair. Is there a second for Amanda's nomination as vice chair?
Second, her, she was.
Okay, that's been seconded. Are there any, Amanda, do you accept the nomination?
Sure.
Okay. Are there any further nominations for the role of vice chair? Hearing none, all in favor of Amanda as vice chair, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Third, we have the role of secretary. Secretary's role is no greater than any other member. However, as city staff will perform the note-taking responsibilities. However, should the chair and vice chair be unable to serve, the secretary is responsible for conducting the meeting and fulfilling the roles of the chair. Are there any nominations for secretary?
I'll nominate Jeffrey Clapper.
Is there a second?
That,
All right, we've got a second. Are there any other nominations for the role of secretary? Hearing none, Jeff, I'm not giving you the chance to decide if you wish to accept or not. I'm just moving right on to a vote. All in favor of Jeff being the secretary, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. The election of officers is completed. I'll turn the gavel over to Mr. Clevenger Morris.
I guess that'll take us into the reading of the preamble. The Planning Commission operates in accordance with the provisions of the Kent City Charter, the Kent Zoning Code, and the subdivision regulations, all of which establish the powers and duties of the commission. Members of the Planning Commission are appointed by City Council and serve without compensation. Certain cases, such as conditional zoning certificates, special zoning permits, overlay district projects, and zoning amendments, require public hearings before the Planning Commission. During the public hearing, any person wishing to address their concerns to the commission will be provided the opportunity. Once the public hearing is closed, it shall be the discretion of the chair whether to allow any additional public comment. Cases such as site plan reviews and subdivision projects do not require a public hearing. However, the chair will allow public comment on each case as it is taken on the agenda. In each instance where the commission receives public comments or conducts a public hearing, those persons wishing to address their concerns to the commission will be required to do so under oath or positive affirmation. The oath or affirmation shall be administered to all who wish to speak at the Planning Commission meeting. Once the decision has been made by the Planning Commission on a case, the case is closed for the commission as there are no provisions to reopen a case. With the exception of cases falling under the subdivision code, any decision of the Planning Commission may be appealed to the City's Board of Zoning Appeals in accordance with the Chapter 1109 of the Zoning Code. Anyone interested in appealing a decision of the Planning Commission is advised to seek private legal counsel. Mr. Fink, is there anyone here who needs an oath?
There is nobody present to administer the oath to, so we'll skip this portion of the meeting for now.
Are there any received correspondences? No.
None.
Well, moving on to the Chapter 11 Planning and Zoning Code review. Proposed PC 21-003, the proposed planning and zoning code amendment is being forwarded to the commission for review and recommendation to council. Would staff like to present?
Sure. So we've been doing zoning code for quite a while now. This is the second of two public hearings for the proposed zoning code, the full rewrite of the zoning code. I just want to point out, in case you didn't figure it out, it's chapters 1106 through 1113, because we took out chapter 4. So 1106 we did last time was not the same 1106 we're looking at this time. I would suggest we just go not page by page, but whoever has the first comment. I'll let you lead this, Chris, but well, it just started at the beginning at 11:25, and I'm going to apologize again for the way this printed out.
It's a little backwards, but it's okay. Does anybody have a comment starting around 11:25 or 1:25 rather? I think they have an early on comment.
I'm good till 1:46.
Anyone have anything before 1:46?
I just have a question on 125, the number C, letter C. I'm just curious, the height, no restriction, is that federal law? Is that Ohio law? I'm just curious where that came from.
That would be our, that's simply saying the city of Kent is not going to impose a regulation. There are still regulations federally through the FAA and that sort of thing. We are not trying to step on anybody else's toes as far as that goes.
Okay,
At least that's what we're proposing.
I got you. All right.
City council will ultimately decide and you'll make a recommendation.
Okay.
Anything else before 1:46? All right, Mr. Clapper.
So my only thoughts are concerning compact car spaces, and I can't remember what project we talked about, but I feel like we eliminated a couple compact spaces. And my feeling is cars are just generally getting bigger. Like even a compact car like a Honda Civic is big now. Is it possible just to do away with the compact car section at all?
Actually, the compact car is new. We didn't have a compact car section before.
Oh,
It's only to allow if somebody wants to put compact cars in, it's not required,
okay.
but it does limit how many compact car spaces that you can have.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I can't remember the case that we talked about it before. But just looking at the numbers that are on there, compact barely going to fit anything that's made or driven around here anymore.
Well, remember, those are minimums. And if you look at item 3 under the compact car B, we actually provide the planning commission the authority to modify or adjust. So if a developer were to come in with something that, you know, they were trying to go for the maximum of the 30% they're allowed to have, but they were putting them in a parking lot that the planning commission didn't feel supported or was appropriate for it, those numbers or those spots can be modified or eliminated.
Okay. Well, that's just the 3 is just the aisle width or the entire aisle. So that'd be like the aisle, like the aisle of spaces itself. We could change that dimension in there. And under number 3, could we
Yeah,
actually?
that was put in because if you have just compact cars, then you don't need as wide as an aisle width as you would for full
Okay.
size cars. Otherwise, it has to meet the full width for every, like if it was a full length car.
Okay. Well, you guys are the professionals with it. So if a case comes up where we see it, which I can only remember one where it came up at all, I guess we'll address it then.
I don't think we'll get many people that put a lot of them in, but there's actually that shared use parking lot that is still under concept for the West End, which is going to be named something else in the city lot. I know that Jim Bowling, working with the designer for West End, they were looking at potentially maybe incorporating some compact cars in there, but that's still in the very early phases.
Yeah.
So, and it would have to be strategically located and make sense and things like that.
Going off memory, and it's just barely in my head anymore. I think the reason I thought about it the last time we talked about it was there maybe something that if you put in X amount of compact spaces, you could have less overall spaces, or am I just making that up in my head?
I don't recall that,
Yeah.
but there are buildings, like if they want to get LEED certified, they compact cars or electric cars or some other fuel efficient cars are help with the LEED certification.
Okay. Yeah, I can't remember why it was sticking out in my head from a previous occasion, so I just wanted to bring that up. But I'm good either way, and we can address it if it comes across.
I had one on page 144 for the multifamily and apartment dwellings. Is that for dwellings less than 50? The one bicycle per 5 units and then over 50? I'm assuming it's less than 50.
Oh, you're right, though. It should have the word or less.
Okay.
I'm gonna get a highlighter so I can make sure I get that. Good catch.
On page 150, where you highlighted the section about the parking plan requirements, I know it said that Eric was working on the language, but do we have that language to see before we send it over to council, or is that going to go over it after?
Eric actually just hot off the presses sent it over. Eric, do you have it with you to read? I think I do. I printed it out.
On my computer here.
We're actually scheduled to have a Zoom meeting tomorrow to kind of talk through that, but I know I have.
What are we looking at on page 150?
The parking plan language that Eric wrote. Okay, I have it. Eric, you want me to read it?
Yeah, if you found it already, good job.
It says the following criteria apply to the design of parking plans in off-street parking areas as they are required by the code for all new or converted residential other than a single-family residential, commercial, industrial use. So he has, let me get to page 50 to see what, you said it was on page 50?
Page 150 at the bottom.
Yeah, I see it. Okay, so he has A, proximity of required parking spaces. Eric has in all districts in connection with every building or part thereof hereafter created. Now, if that isn't legalese, I don't know what is, Eric. Thereof hereafter created. We're going to simplify that tomorrow. Sufficient parking facilities must be provided off-street to meet or exceed the parking requirements specified in the chapter. The furthest edge of such facilities must be within 700 feet of the principal permitted use or building. So that is, in simple terms, the parking has to be provided within 700 feet of the principal building or use. He also has all parking plans or parking areas governed by this section must consider to the satisfaction of the approving authority, which would be the planning commission or the city, each of the following. He has 1, where applicable, sufficient availability of residential parking. 2, where applicable, sufficient availability and location of customer and of employee parking. So those would be, I think we need ors at the end of those, Eric, right?
Okay.
They're not there after the semicolons, but in other words, not if it's a commercial use, it's the number 2. If it's a it's number 1. 3, proximity of parking spaces for residents, customers, and/or employees to the building entrances. And 4, potential for deferment of parking spaces in accordance with this chapter. And then that would be a link to the chapter that talks about where we allow for you to defer spaces, but keep it as green space that if needed can be developed. And then you have a 5th here. Storage of inoperable vehicles in a publicly accessible parking lot for more than 14 days is prohibited.
That's fun. Legalese there, Eric.
Eric, why don't you summarize it for him? Basically, we were looking at proximity to the use within a reasonable distance, which is where the 700 came from, right?
Correct.
And then the proximity of spaces to the entrances. So in other words, we didn't want it just to be to the building itself if the entrance is on one street, but the parking is being offered behind it. And then we do have the deferment of parking spaces. In other words, if somebody says, well, we're gonna use such and such lot, or they're gonna have an agreement with someone else, that those spaces can really be used if they are needed.
And the idea is to
To
give the
me-
planning commission the
Go ahead,
authority.
Eric.
The idea is to give the planning commission both a level of authority, but also discretion, as, other issues, topography might dictate a certain result, or future building plans might dictate a different result. This gives some latitude, but also gives some guidelines about what should be looked for in a parking plan.
Eric, I noticed you don't have anything for B, and I know that we talked about also available parking for employees separate from customers, but we put it together. Do you know what you were gonna put in this B?
B's whatever was already in the code, I just didn't change what was
Okay,
already.
gotcha. Okay,
Because A and B I left unchanged, that's why there's no marks with that.
okay.
Does anybody have any questions on Eric's language? Hearing none, who has something after page 150?
This is so awkward flipping it this way. I'm like confused myself now.
I just had a question on page 207. It is the difference just between a minor site plan review and a major. What might be the criteria?
On what page, I'm sorry?
Page 207, D1 and 2. Just something simple, like what would be the difference between a minor site plan review and a major site plan review? What is the cutoff that determines one or the other?
A minor site plan review is,
Where's our
Right.
chart?
yeah, don't quote me on the numbers, but it's like 10,000 square feet addition
The
or
chart's
20 parking spaces. And if it's not a minor, it's a major. And anything that's in a conditional use automatically goes to major.
Right, if you go to page 206, there's a
Yeah,
breakdown there.
Okay, thank
see
you.
the chart has little dots in where it's major or minor.
So it may be upside down.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And then we took the requirements that were applicable to all site plans and we grouped them, which Michael, that was based on your comments when we were doing the conditions for ones that were applicable to everything. So we pulled those out of the conditions chapter and grouped them under C for the requirements for all site plans. And so that includes those criteria there.
Thank you. I think that actually will be helpful to know that we're going to talk about that every single time.
I have a question on 168. I'm sorry to make you flip back and forth. Under the signage section between 17 and 19, that 18, which is blank, it had a period and nothing else.
I'm sorry, what page was that?
Page 168.
Okay.
17 and 19, the 18, whatever, it was either a placeholder for a sign or we just added an extra line, but I wanted to make sure we didn't accidentally delete something.
I could actually find it in this flipping copy.
It's literally a flipping copy.
Yeah, it's like, when I heard that it was like this, I was like, oh, okay, so 160, for number 18. You know, I have a version, so sometimes when we bring this into Word, things get goofy. Let me look at my version that is actually normal, but has all my notes in it. Let me see what I have for that.
I'm assuming we added an extra space, but on the off chance that we might have accidentally deleted something, you pointed out.
So 18. Okay, what happened was internally illuminated sign, which had been in this version before we moved, up a couple pages so that it's under externally lit sign. So if you turn to, well, in my easy to understand version, it would be on page 170, where it talks about sign definitions general. I'm not sure where it is in the crazy flip copy.
170 still.
Yeah, it is. Okay. So the 18 that's missing here is actually, which probably is a formatting thing. We had him move it to so that internal illumination internally illuminated sign is moved to externally, where next to externally. So it basically was just a moving of a dot to a large piece. But what it did say was internally illuminated sign, and then the definition for it was a sign whose light source is located in the interior of the sign so that the rays go through the face of the sign or light source, which is attached to the face of the sign and is perceived as a design element of the sign.
And then further down, I'm sure it's here, I think I just skipped it, but between 175, 176, under prohibited signs, where is the text that will prohibit the electronic signage for pieces other than gas stations, like we had discussed?
Or prohibited signs is,
Or did I just miss that?
No, it's not under prohibited just because in the definition it says can only be used for gas. So I think that's why it wasn't.
oh, yeah, yeah.
I was looking
Yeah.
for the same thing.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure it was there because I know it's the last thing Peter really fought for.
Yeah, it's on 180 is where it has what we're allowed to do with it.
Anybody have anything before or after 180?
Have a little typo on page 230, that's all.
At 230?
Yeah, right at the top on A, it says council may amend. It just needs separated by a space, that's all. I'm looking at the hard copy.
The drafts, the consultant still has to go through too and do a bunch of the formatting. He was waiting until we were done with some of it, so we definitely have other typos too, I'm sure. I'm
Okay,
sure of it,
That's all.
but I have a note
Okay.
on your thing, so that.
Anybody else?
I don't have anything else.
When we get down to the development of the design guidelines and like 235 on, and we give all the background information, we talk about the process and all that. Is there a way that we can break up the text just a little bit, at least add some spacing between some of the paragraph points, because it feels really it looks overwhelming. It looks like it's a lot of run-on information when it's not broken up.
We actually didn't do anything with Appendix A as part of the consultant contract.
Okay.
Our plan is to do a separate consultant agreement to redo the entire design guidelines.
Okay.
So we didn't look at that at all. I mean, we as staff could go in and put spaces in it, but we didn't include that as part of the zoning code update. It's in and of itself its own project.
Yeah, the only other thing I had was I really appreciated the time they took in putting in the visual aids. I think some of the things that we talk about can be oftentimes very confusing. And I think, and even the clear vision area. That one of the first ones that you see in there, it just makes it really simplified for people to understand, so they don't necessarily have to speak Eric's legalese to read the document and be able to process it. That's all I have. If nobody has anything else, is there a motion?
Does anybody have anything else?
I don't have anything else.
I just thought it seemed to read a little bit better than the other one. The first one we've reviewed for some reason. I don't know if maybe the formatting or just the content, but it was a little bit easier to read for me.
I can make a motion. I move that in the case PC 21-003, the planning commission recommend to Kent City Council to hold a public hearing and review the proposed zoning code text for proposed chapters 1106 through 1113 and to adopt the amended zoning code in its entirety.
Moved by Mr. Cooper, is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Clapper. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Abstention. Motion carries 5-0. As there is no other business, if the city doesn't have anything, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Clapper, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Edwards. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. We are adjourned at 7:36 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Good night.
Good night.
Good
See you
night,
next
everyone.
week.